Chayalim, please find your seats and get ready to join with your fellow soldiers around the world. The rally will begin in 2 minutes. Dear Chayalim, please find your seats and get ready to join with your fellow soldiers around the world. The rally will begin in 1 minute.
Welcome to our Chof of rally. Very, very exciting and welcome. It's great to be back in our next amazing rally. We have some special surprises today. But first of all, remember, we have also a special raffle. 3 lucky winners from around the entire Australia will be able to win. How to get into the raffle? Very simple. Participate and get included in all the things that we're going to do by this rally, mainly Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah. So you'll have to give Tzedakah. You will say along with us the 12 Psukim, and of course the special Kapitelach. Now, I want to mention that this rally is Le'ilai Nishmas, a very, very special soldier, and of course that is Binyamin Yeshua Binyamin Ben Harav Yibad L'chaim Tov Maruchim Reb Moshe, who only 1 week ago we were gathered here and saying Tehillim for this very special soldier. And I want to say 2 special things. Number 1, as Rabbi and Mrs. Cerulnik said, what a very special way for this neshama to go up. As, of course, as we know, Yeshua Binyamin joined us last rally, and everything that you children said, the Torah, the Tefillah, and the Tzedakah you gave, his parents even helped him give Tzedakah in his last hours on this world. What a very holy neshama, and what a special way to go Lamaila together with a rally. And I want to begin with a short story about a few Hasidim. One of them was the Rebbe Rashab's Chassid, and a few of them were from different Rebbes. And each one were kind of trying to, I guess, show off what a great Chassid they are and what a great Rebbe they have. And one Chassid said, I didn't know which business to go to, so what do you think I did? I asked my Rebbe, and he said you should go into this business, and I went in, and guess what happened? I was successful, and I'm so rich today. Wow, everyone else cheered. That's amazing. The next Chassid from a different Rebbe said, you think that's something? I had not a penny to my name, and my Rebbe said I should go to this city, and I met a person, and what happened? They all asked. And they said he offered me this business deal, and I am rich today. Wow. And finally, he turned to the Rebbe, the Shabbos Chassid, and he said, tell us your miracle. So he said, I asked my Rebbe what to do about a certain business deal, and he said I should have a bracha. And what happened? I went into this business deal, and and it was a big flop, and I lost tons and tons of money. And that's it. They all look at each other. So, well, what's going on over here? So, where's the end of the story? Where's the miracle? And he smazes. The miracle is that I'm still a proud chassid of the Rebbe shop. That's the miracle. I don't need no miracles. And I thought about the story very much, that we hope there's certain results. You know, we daven to Hashem, and you should not think that chas v'shalom, any tehillim and tzedakah and Torah that we did went to waste. Chas v'shalom, chas v'shalom. Each and every word that we said and each tzedakah coin that we gave escorts the special neshama of Yeshua ben Yamin alav v'shalom, the special soldier. Nothing goes to waste. And sometimes we hope for certain results. We beg Hashem, we think we know what's best, and we beg Hashem to give us the results. And sometimes Hashem says, okay, and sometimes Hashem answers us, but we don't understand the answer. And the miracle is that we stay strong. We stay Hasidim. We stay Yidden. We know this is straight from Hashem. And that itself is the comfort for us, for all of us, to know that regardless of the result, we did not waste our time with the Tehillim. We did not waste our time with those mitzvahs. Those Tehillim words are still singing before the special soldier Yeshua ben Yamin. And you know what? It's all in his chuz. Because of him, we said all these Torah and Tefillah and Tzedakah, and that escorts the neshama into the next world until Mashiach comes, and hopefully very soon we'll see Yeshua ben Yamin marching with all the other soldiers from all the generations. Which also reminds me of today's day, as we're going to see in a moment. Our first two missions is going to be hearing some special words from the Rebbe and singing Reb Leivik's Nigun. And I always think, you know what, the Rebbe had such a sad life. If we think about it, if we want to think about it, the Rebbe actually quite a sad life. But Gashmias, the Rebbe, since he's a little child, the government is chasing down his family. His father, his house, he witnessed World War I, that Jews were ripped from their houses, and the Rebbe, as he mentioned in Fabrengen, his whole house became like a headquarters to try to save all these Yidden. Although there was so many mitzvahs going on, you think it was a happy scene, watching family after family after family being torn away and have nowhere to go. And Rebbe Leivik and Rebbe Tzimchana, especially, actually, Rebbe Tzimchana was a big heroine and a big hero in this area to help all these Yidden. And then the Rebbe watched as the Russians literally just tried to destroy Yiddishkeit. And then the Rebbe watched as he became a chassid and met the Frierdiker Rebbe and finally gets engaged to his daughter, that the Frierdiker Rebbe gets arrested and almost killed. And then finally the Rebbe leaves Russia and never sees his family again. Well, I should say most of his family. Of course, the Rebbe Tzachana, the Rebbe got to see later. And then the Rebbe's father's arrested for no reason, as we're going to see. And then destroyed until he passed away because of this horrible imprisonment. That's the Rebbe's life. And how does he remember Rebbe Leivik? What's his memories? Ay, 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 hey! With the biggest shturim. Because the Rebbe, as he knows and he taught us, we don't give in. A soldier keeps on marching. Nothing can hold us back. Rebbe Leivik could have said, oy vey! Where Rebbe Leivik lived when he was sent to prison, it wasn't like a jail behind bars. It was more like a exile in a disgusting, disgusting area, mud till your knees. You think camp mosquitoes are bad? You just, where Rebbe Leivik was, as the Rebbetzin describes, Rebbe Tzachana, every 2 meters, disgusting, thousands of mosquitoes. And Rebbe Leivik could have said, I'm sick. I'm hungry. I can't go anywhere. I'm in prison. I have no paper even. What could a person ask for? A little piece of paper Rebbe Leivik didn't have. I have no pens. You think that stopped him from learning? Rebbe Leivik kept going and going. And of course, with the heroic acts of his wife, Rebbe Tzimchana, who found inky thing, they said, what should we do? We can't learn Torah. We have no books. We have no pens. We have no paper. So Rebbe Leivik took the little paper that he had, the sides of the Zohar that he had. Rebbe Rebbetzin went out every morning to get him and cook. And Rebbe Leivik was so excited, he jumped up as Rebbe Tzimchana describes that he jumped up, he grabbed the ink more excited than if she came on with a loaf of bread. And that's the story of Rebbe Leivik. So your first two missions is now, well, I'm going to start off actually to welcome a very special soldier. And he's going to lead us in Kapitel Chof. So our first mission to say Kapitel. And I want you to have in mind, of course, the Neshama of Yeshua ben Yamin. And Ben Moshe, and every single person, first including every Yid of Klal Yisrael, and including anyone that needs a refuah shalema. And we all need the refuah, which is the geula. So, without further ado, let's welcome Shalom Ber Nakar.
ist gekommen in die Sache, weil das mit der Sache liegt in der Kopf und Lache, so zu sein, weil ich die Sache schon in der Sache, weil ich die Sache, hat jeder die Sache, und ich habe ja nicht so gut schon, die Playstation, und immer mehr Probleme zu sein, und ich habe die
Thank you, Shalom Ber, and true Hashem Haishia Hamelech Hanenu V'Im Kareinu, Hashem answer all our tefillos. So now, without further ado, our next mission to listen to the Rebbe and listen to part of the story of Chof, and to sing when it's time to sing Rebbe Levi's Niggin. Clap and cheer and sing so I can hear you all the way from here.
On March 29, 1939, the secret police's fateful visit finally came. It is not clear exactly when Rabbi Levi Yitzchak's oldest son in Paris found out about his father's arrest, but it appears, at the very least, that the letters from father to son stopped. That would have been proof enough that something ominous had occurred. In a trial held in Moscow, over 500 miles away from the defendant, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak was found guilty of anti-Soviet propaganda. He was sentenced to 5 years of exile in the Central Asian region of the Soviet Union, and in 1944, he passed away as a result of his treatment at the hands of his oppressors. The KGB interrogation files show that the Rebbe had supported his parents for many years, sending monies, matzahs for Passover, and esrogim for the Sukkot holiday for the Dnepropetrovsk Jewish community. In 1941, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak's brother, Shmuel, was arrested on similar charges. His sentence was 3 years of exile. He died in December 1943. His interrogations include questions about Passover matzahs he received through the years from his nephew in Paris.
Neshama was gefindt sich in schöne Nele Moemes, Liachre, wo sie gewähnt der Avidose asher ovad bo, Amol asher omel be bemeshech yemei chayo, bilo mazeh, in Nesef ab Klolis hoinyan, wo sie durchgeführt der Schliches von der Shamish Eskene, is echet in der Ruf gewähnt der Inyan, beloschen ha Gemorre avuch, ba me habe zoir tfei, was het beim geleicht und was sie gewähnt der Schar, durch welches sie durchgegangen seine alle Teile und Mitzvah, warum das sie gewähnt der Mitzvah ha-Yikri, der Inyan ha-Yikri, in welchen sich gekocht und gelebt und getan in der Ruf Echet Nesef, bei der Gehet Ashpo, auf andere Nesef auf der Ashpo, ha-Klolis in Apostas Ayadus. Es gewähnt a Rov in a Stadt, wo sie gewähnt a Jir Merkozis, für a Mispar, von Stadt Arunir, und in der Ruf Gufe, in Nesef auf der alle Unione Rabbonus, was beklolis ist das, der Mechanisch sei, die Kol Chave Anshe und Neshe HaKehilo, לדעת את המייס אשר יעשו, ואילו אשר ליטה יעשנו, ונית ורטן, בזוונת מטבר זן חס ושולם, oder verfällen etwas, und danach sagen muss meinig sein, aber tut in die Piulis, in Asami meine du Matze, was in Druf darf man reisgehen an Kegen, am Luche Adiro, wo sie nicht zufrieden von die Piulis, nur sie tut und sie stärkt, bis sie gewähnen in Bemin, aber Techet gewähnen an Nenesch und Meister, früher in Beisa Assuri, und dann noch a Golus, in a Medina Recheiko na Nani Recheiko, was wir sagt in Sefer Achinach Adarin na Golus, in noch nah, dass noch bitterer, noch ärger, wie in der Mine von Nisachas schon. Und nachher Piken ist mit Mamschich in der Piulo, wo dazu darf man haben, Kemuvo nu Poshut, Shalshaloi Shal Barzel, auf der Evre Aguf und auf Levusche Aguf. Also sie sollen sich nicht erschrecken vor die alle Schwierigkeiten und sollen Messiah sein, wechol Echad David Davidite, von der Evrim in den Mille von der Schlichus Achinuch zu Ktanim Bedeyo oder Ktanim Echad Bishonim, als sie sollen Echad werden Gedelim Bedeyo, und mit Benele werden sie Echad sein Gedelim, sehr Akoten Godel Jie, Gadlos und durchführen die Schlichus. Ay, 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 yo. Ay, 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 ay,
Okay, and we're going to play a little bit of a game before we go further. So this is going to be a bonus raffle. Listen to the rules. So grab a pen and paper, so listen to the rules to be able to win this special raffle. Okay, so we are going to play a game. I'm going to tell you the rules in a minute. That the way to win is you're going to have to submit your photo during the rally. So during the rally, you're going to have to submit your photo and of your results, and here are the rules. You are going to have 20 seconds. Of course, tomorrow is Chof celebrating Reb Leivik's yahrzeit on the Chof. So you're going to have 20 seconds to find an item, and I'm going to tell you what letter that item has to start with. Now, I'm going to tell you now, I suppose, all the letters, if you recombine them, they will spell something. So what you need to do is send me back a picture. So for example, if I say the letter is P, you'll have 20 seconds to find me something. So you come up with pajamas. And then I want to see it lined up together. So you have to take a picture of all the things that you found and tell me what it spells. So here goes. Once again, I'm going to tell you a letter. Let's say the rules one more time so you don't misunderstand. I'm going to tell you a letter to find. So for example, I say you have to find something with the letter or sounding of P or P. So you'll have to run around your house and you have 20 seconds to bring back something that starts with a P. Then I might say, okay, now bring me something that starts with a C. So you'll run around, you'll have 20 seconds to run around. When you're finished all the missions, you'll come back and you'll have to show me you'll take a picture and then send it in to the following number. So I'm going to say it twice, so make sure you write it down. The following number, which is really Mrs. Lipsker's number. So 0401 401 914. Once again, the number is 0401 401 914. All right, are you ready? Because here we begin. The first item you have to find starts with the letter A. I hope you found it, and I hope that was enough time. Let's try another one. You have 20 seconds. Get ready. Get ready. Maybe you should have scouts, everyone in a different room to find it. You got 20 seconds to find the next one. And by the way, if there's multiple winners, so let's say you're doing it together with your brother, your sister. So what you do is you take a picture and you write what name, what word it spells out, as well as
total photo at the end of everything.
at the end of everything. Don't keep sending in a photo. Yes. Don't keep sending a photo with every item. Once you finish collecting everything, you'll take one picture and then send in all the names of the participants. The next letter is the letter C.
The 10 or 4 pages. I'm looking for
Okay. All right. I hear a lot of exercise happening there. So now let's move on to our next letter. The next letter is the letter F. Okay, moving on to our next letter. The next letter, you got 20 seconds to find the letter V. Find the letter V. Okay, we got a couple left, so here goes. Our next letter is letter H. H. Letter H. Okay, and finally, our final letter. Like I mentioned, it's out of order, so you have to figure out what all these things spelled. Once you finish, take a picture of all your junk, all your stuff, and send in, first of all, what it spells. Number 2, send in as well all the children that were involved. And at the end, before we leave, I'll actually already mention our first winner. The way to get into the other raffles is, of course, by doing all the things and going online for ChabadYouth.org/raffle. If you go into ChabadYouth.org/raffle, you'll be able to find the form to fill out, and we will announce, and we'll post it either later on tonight or tomorrow morning, and you'll see the winners on ChabadYouth.org/raffle. You'll also see the winners there tomorrow. And our final letter, if you guessed it, the letter is O. And boom, that is that. So I hope you collected all your things. Once you finish, once again, send a photo to 0401-401-914, 0401-401-914. The number again is 0401-401-914. Okay, and sending it in a picture, what all those things spelled out, all those letters, ACFVHO, I shouldn't have said that again, and all the children involved. towards the end, my wife, Rebbetzin Lipsker, will be making the raffle, so you'll find out already who won. Before we continue, of course, to the very special 12 Psukim, we have a very special guest, and I'm very, very honored. I said, I'm not going to say the story. This should be a very, very big schus for Rabbi Gorelik. Rabbi Gorelik, as we know, the Shliach and Rav of Free, he's been very involved with Rebbe Leivik, as we're about to find out. So I want to invite today's guest, Rabbi Shalom Gorelik, who very gracefully agreed to join us live today and to share a very special story. Listen closely. I think you will be amazed. Without further ado, Rabbi Shalom Gorelik.
Dear Chayolim and Chayolis, it's so good to see you all. I'm very excited to have the opportunity to tell you the story of how my father, Rabbi Chaim Elazar Gorelik, had the great schus to fix up the matzeva of the father of the Rebbe Leivik. I'm going to show you a slideshow with some pictures as I tell you the story. The first picture is of my father, Soll sein gesund. Now, my father grew up in Russia. Now, just to tell you how it worked in Russia, we know we're all in a lockdown now and we can't leave our homes at night and we can't go to Sydney. Well, life was like that, not just for 6 weeks in Russia, but all the time, all the years that a person lived there. You couldn't leave if you wanted to. And my father's family was trying for many, many years to get permission from the government to go to Eretz Yisrael, to America. Finally, my uncle, Reb Mordechai Menachem, my father's brother, he got permission to go, leave Russia, and he straight away went to the Rebbe and he brought the Rebbe a photograph, a picture of the Rebbe's father's gravestone. And the Rebbe took out his magnifying glasses and he had a very careful look at the gravestone. Unfortunately, over the years, it was not in a good condition, and some of the letters you could barely read. And the Rebbe asked my uncle, could you ask your father and brother who still live in Russia to replace my father's gravestone? And that's my father and my Zayda Mendel Gorelik, shortly after they came out of Russia. So my uncle sent them a letter, a message, please do this mission. Now, what was happening back there in Russia at the time was that my father and grandfather had finally gotten their own permission to leave Russia. And when you got permission, that's the government building, you only had 4 weeks to get going, to jump on the plane, pack your bags and go. And if you didn't, you could be stuck there forever. So it was a little bit dangerous to start fixing up gravestones, especially of rabbis. The government in Russia didn't like that sort of stuff. They could have told my father, you're going to stay right here now. You're not going to be able to leave. But if you get a request from the Rebbe, of course you do it, no matter what the risks are. So the Rebbe had set a few conditions. The Rebbe told my uncle, number one, the person who does the engraving, who scratches the letters on the gravestone, he should be a frum Jew, a Jew who keeps Torah mitzvahs. Number two, the letters should be very, very clear. And number three, keep an account of how much money is spent. So my father starts looking for someone who is frum, religious, but also knows how to engrave. And he wasn't really getting anywhere. He was running into trouble. He couldn't find a professional engraver who was also religious. You have to remember there were very few religious Jews in Russia at the time. And also, my father wasn't sure what should be done with the old matzeva, the old gravestone. It has a certain holiness to it. It's from the Rebbe's father. Maybe what needs to be done with it? You can't just throw it away. So he wrote these 2 questions in a letter. And that's my grandfather, shortly after he came from Russia. But my father wrote those 2 questions in a letter to his cousin Gershon Ber Jacobson, who's the father of Rabbi Yossi Jacobson, if you know him. And he sent it to him because you couldn't write a letter directly to the Rebbe. If the Russian police would check every letter that went out of Russia, if they caught you writing a letter to the Rebbe, you were in massive trouble, because that means you were connected with him, and they didn't like rabbis, especially Rabbi Schneerson. So he said, my father sent the letter instead to his cousin, and his cousin, he hoped, would take it to the Rebbe and send back a reply. But time passed and no reply. And remember, my father only has 4 weeks to get everything done before he's going to leave. So in the end, they tried and tried, and he did manage to find a Jew who lived in Tashkent, which is where my father lived. And he wasn't really an engraver himself, but his father had been, and he still had his father's tools. And he remembered a little bit from when he was a child, how his father used to do it. So my father got him to do the engraving. And every morning before he'd do it, he would take him to his house, my father's house, my grandfather's house, where in the kitchen cupboard, behind the kitchen cupboard, they had a secret mikveh. Because, of course, you couldn't have mikvahs in Russia. That wasn't allowed by the government. So my grandfather had built a secret one behind the kitchen cupboard. And they brought this Jew to dip in the mikveh first, and then you do the engraving. And after a few days, it was all ready. So off they went to fly to Almaty. That's where Reb Leivik was buried. It's 2-hour flight from Tashkent. Now, the trouble was, normally when you have a big, heavy stone, you have to put it underneath the plane where all the luggage is, all the suitcases. But my father didn't want anything to go wrong. This is Reb Leivik's gravestone. He wanted to take it with him. But you know, if you've ever been to the airport, they weigh how much your suitcase is if you're taking it with you to your seat. So my father was a young man then. He didn't want them to realize it was actually super heavy, because they'll say, you got to put it underneath. So he like held it in a way that it looked like it was light as a feather. You know, just got my lunch in here and my, we wouldn't say tefillin because that was also not allowed. Just got my lunch and Chabad Youth newsletter. And that's it, you know, light as a feather. And even though it was really heavy, it was a big stone. But my father was strong, and on he went, and he had it safe with him on the plane. And off they flew from Tashkent to Almaty. And when they got there, they had to first get rid of the old stone. And at first they thought, we'll get the whole thing off, but it wasn't really coming off. So they had to do it bit by bit, and it broke into little pieces. And they still didn't know what to do with the old stone. They never got a reply from the Rebbe. So they decided, you know what, we'll just take these little pieces and bury it in cement around the grave. That way it will be close to the grave. And then they took photos of the new Matzeva. And shortly afterwards, Baruch Hashem, they were able to leave Russia. They went first to Eretz Yisrael, and then they straight away came to the Rebbe for Yud Aleph Nissen in 1972, Tovshin Lamed Beis. And they had a Yechidus, my grandfather with my father. But actually, my father met, of course, in Crown Heights, his cousin, Gershon Ber Jacobson, and he said, Gershon Ber, what happened? I sent you an important letter with 2 questions. You never replied. And Gershon Ber said, excuse me? I gave your letter straight away to the Rebbe's secretary, who's over there in the picture, and he gave me a reply. The Rebbe replied straight away. And they realized that obviously the Russian secret police, they would check all the letters I said. Sometimes they didn't like letters, they'd just rip it up. And they'd never pass it on to the person who needs to get it. So that's why the letter never made it to my father. So my father says, well, Gershon Ber, tell me, what did the letter say? The Rebbe said 2 things. He said, you're looking for an engraver who's from and you can't find him. Like you boys and girls said, your guide to Motzasi Tamin. The Rebbe said, keep on trying. Tell your cousin to keep on trying and he'll surely find. And that's exactly what happened. They found someone. And the second question about the old Matzeva, what should they do? The Rebbe had replied, put it in little pieces and bury it around the grave. And Bashkocha Protis, that's exactly what they had done. So Baruch Hashem, even though they didn't get the letter from the Rebbe, they obviously got whatever the Rebbe actually wanted them to do. It all happens. And then they had a Yechidus, I said, my Zeder with my father. And the Rebbe said, thank you for the photos and thank you for doing this. And the Rebbe told him 3 times. He apologized, said, I know that you won't want to lose the schus of paying for the expenses, but you have to understand, since this is my father, it's his headstone, and I have the mitzvah of kibbud over ein, so I have to insist that you tell me exactly how much it costed, and I'm going to pay you. And my father said the Rebbe told him that 3 times. So when they left the Yechidus, they went to the Maskiris, the Rebbe's secretary, and my grandfather told him exactly how much it was in rubles, which is the Russian money, and they converted into American dollars, and they wrote a check for my father and for my grandfather. And my father concluded, he said, you know, even though it was risky and it was dangerous to do this at that time in Russia, to get that thank you from the Rebbe at the end of it all made it all worth it. Have a wonderful day and a very meaningful Chof of.
Thank you very, very much. Sorry. Thank you very much, Rabbi Gorelik. And it should be a tremendous chus for your father, for a complete refuah shalema, the maila miderach hateva, for the Mesiras Nefesh that he and his family had for Rebbe Leivik. And of course, the Rebbe always considered a tremendous honor that anyone that was involved in Rebbe Leivik's life and afterwards. I know my Zayda, my Rebbe Sion Gaizinski, who was not a Lubavitcher at the time, but his children eventually became Lubavitch. So when my Zayda Gaizinski, my Sha'aran Gaizinski came to America and Rebbe Tzimchana saw him, she right away rushed him into the Rebbe, pushed the line of the Yechidus, I believe, whatever the details were. She said, do Ben Sion's, because his father actually built a table for Rebbe Leivik when the Rebbe Leivik was in the exile. Okay. Our next mission, of course, is the second pillar that the entire world stands on. So get out your tzedakah boxes. And if you unfortunately don't have it in front of you, make sure you do it before the end of the rally. And gedoyle tzedakah shemekareves es hagiula. And don't forget to give as much as possible. And we'll be talking, be merit to see the geula mitzvah shlema. And now, without further ado, some of our 13 amazing guests today that will lead us in the 12 Pesukim and a big Yisher Koyach for all those soldiers. And we want to invite them one by one to our virtual stage to lead us in the Yud Beis Pesukim. And these are our weapons, the real weapons of Tzivos Hashem, the real weapons that win the war. So without further ado, and please excuse sometimes the screen might start off small till I'm able to adjust it. Not easy running a live rally, but Baruch Hashem, we will get through. And beginning with Nechama Fruma and Perel Goldzweig for the pasuk of Torah.
Torah, Tzira, Lanu, Moshe, Marasa, Tehillah, Yaakov.
Thank you very, very much. And moving on to the pasuk of Shema, we have Shmuley and Shimon Lowenthal. Take it away.
Shema, Shema, Israel, Israel, Adonai, Adonai, Heino, Heino, Adonai, Adonai, Echad, Echad, Echad.
Very cute. And moving on to the pasuk of B'chol Dervidar, we have soldiers Zalman and Yossi Johnson.
Dar, Vadar, Chayam, Adam, Liras, Es, Admai, Keilu, Hu, Yatzar, Mitzrayim.
Thank you very much. And moving on, I think I missed one of there. And moving on to Pasuk Kol Yisrael, we have our special triplet soldiers, Rachel, Moshe, and Doiv Berhach. Kol Yisrael, take it away.
Kol Yisrael, Yesh, Lahem, Chelek, Li'olam, Haba, Shenemar, V'yameh, Kolam, Tzadikim, Li'olam, Yeshu, Aretz, Nezer, Matai, Mas
beautiful. Moving on to the pasuk of Kikarev, a very hard-working soldier, and I know she's working hard as well as for Chidon. Without further ado, soldier Menucha Rosenfeld.
Karaiv, Elecha, Hadavar, Me'ai, Leficha, Uvilvavcha, Lasaisai.
Thank you, Menucha. Keep going on Tzlacha Rab on that Chidon test. Coming up in a week and a half, moving on to the pasuk of Vihine, we have Genya Mendy and Sivya Wander for pasuk of Vihine. Wanders, take it away.
Hine, Hashem, Nisav, Alav, Umlai, Kol, Haaretz, Kavadai, Umabid, Alav, Umayachay, Klayas, Malay, Im, Avdai, Karaoi.
Okay, thank you, Wanders. That was gorgeous. And moving on to the pasuk of Bereshis, we have another hardworking soldier who comes to every Tzivos Hashem rally and every Tzivos Hashem meeting every Wednesday. Let's welcome Nirza Kerbal.
Bereshis, bara, Elokim, et, Hashemayim, the et, haaretz.
Okay, and for a little bit of hapachus, sorry, Nirza, thank you very, very much. And moving on to the pasuk of Yegaiti, going all the way to Sydney, let us welcome Nassan Schlinger. That was wrong.
Levanecha, V'yiniparcha, Bom,
Sorry, let's back up. Oops. Going to Vishinantam, that let's go to Shana and Shalamis Cantor.
V'yishinantam, Levanecha, V'yiniparcha, Bom, V'shektecha, V'veitecha, Uvelechtecha, V'derech, Uveshachbecha, Uvkumecha. Gegaiti, Veloy, Batsasi, Al, Tamin, Loyagaiti, Umatsasi, Al, Tamin, Gegaiti, Umatsasi, Tamin.
Thank you very, very much, Nassan. Beautiful. And moving on to the pasuk of Via Hafta, let us welcome none other than Tzvi Weiss.
Viachto, Levayacha, Kamalcha, Wabi, Akiva, Orme, Ze, Klau, Godol, Batoiwa.
Thank you, Tzvi. That was beautiful. Moving on to the 11th pasuk. I hope you're saying with all your koyach. Let me hear you. I want to hear you, even though we're all locked down. But the whole Melbourne and the whole Sydney, in fact, the whole Australia know that the Tzivos Hashem soldiers are having a rally right now. So without further ado, let's welcome Shnei Eli and Davi Sabach for the pasuk of Vizeh.
Vizeh, Kol, Ha'adam, Vesachlis, Briasai, Ovriyas, Kol, Ha'alamais, Alyonim, Vesachtoinim, Liyos, Lai, Dira, Zub, Vesachtoinim.
That was beautiful. And for the final pasuk, wow. Let us move. That was fantastic, everyone. For the final pasuk, let's move to Meir and Yitzchak Greenbaum for the pasuk of Yismach And Meir and Yitzchak, say it with the Yismach, say it with that energy of Chof Menachem-Av.
Yismach! Yisrael! V'yosef! Peter! Shekar! Nin! Sheol! Yisrael! Yisrael! Yesh! Lord! V'shmoyach! V'simchas! Hashem! Hashem! Sos! V'sameach! V'dirosot! V'zachtonim!
That was definitely some positive energy. And now for Yehiratzin, where we beg Hashem, and in the Chodesh of Menachem-Av, we know that with every pain, with everything that Hashem does, is really a secret Yom Tiv. As we know that Tisha B'Av soon will be the greatest Yom Tiv. And Chof Av, the Rebbe already showed us that although it was such a sad day, the day that, of course, his father was taken away in a very terrible way. But the Rebbe always celebrated with the Shturim, because we know that very soon this will all be transformed. And all this Mesiras Nefesh, Hashem will reward us with the ultimate third Beis HaMikdash. So just like he took it away in Av, as our Chachamim tell us, let him bring it back in Menachem-Av. Let's go to an up and coming Chazan, all the way from Sydney, welcoming Avram Abba Niazav.
Yehi Ratzon Milfonecha Adonai Eloheinu V'Elohei Avosenu Shebana Beis Hamikdash V'meira v'yameinu V'seichalkeinu v'sarasecha Shebana Beis Hamikdash V'meira v'yameinu V'seichalkeinu v'sarasecha.
Okay, and of course our international anthem, the Tzivos Hashem international anthem. But before we go there, we're going to join a very special camp. And in fact, I want to tell you something incredible, that the Rebbe, because in America now, it is actually summer. So a lot of people are away at camp, away at their holiday homes. And unfortunately, I should say, there was a lot less people by Fabrengens many times in the summertime. And as, of course, the later years, it did get fuller and fuller, but not usually like the winter. And the Rebbe had a very special thank you for Gan Yisrael, because Gan Yisrael never forgot about Chof Av. And they would also always travel in several hours, 3 hours each way to make it to the Fabrengen. And the Rebbe gave them a lot of special attention. The Rebbe told them to say L'chaim, as we'll see in a minute. And they came with their proud Gan Yisrael shirts. And the Rebbe would speak about them, and I heard that the Rebbe once even thanked Chof Av, Gan Yisrael, and saying, without Gan Yisrael, Chof Av would have been a forgotten special Yom de Pagra. So let's join the Rebbe's Fabrengen and Camp Gan Yisrael for Am Yisrael.
Bald da gefinnen sich Ktani. Liefen Bar Mitzvah, Bas Mitzvah, was mit Madem sich ist mit sehr Chinuch in der Nähe von Homo. Und man kann sich sehen und aufhalten zu
The Rebbe said we're joined here by Underbar and Bas Mitzvahs, as well as those that educate them in the way of the Rebbe's father to educate the youth. And the Rebbe said now it will start with their joy.
Und in der Mine, was sei das, mit mir Song käme ich.
Because they don't know, children don't know nonsense. They desire to bring Mashiach now, literally.
Darf genau.
Okay, and now we just have two things left to do. First of all, our raffle, Kenai Nahara, close to 100 response. Very good. And for those that did the special Chof scavenger hunt, and you guessed it, the rearranged letters of ACF, VHO does spell Chof. Very, very good. And wow, we Kenai Nahara. And our lucky winner is none other than how it'll work is we will call you up to let you know your prize, or we'll give you a choice. We will write your name down on the actual prize so we don't forget to get it to you whenever we legally can. And the lucky winner is in my hand, none other than number 57. Rachel Adalist, Mazel Tov. Okay. Now, before we finish, we're going to finish with a little bit of the Rebbe's Kapitel, the first three Oisias, and I guess then we'll say goodbye, and then I'll leave on the rest of the Oisias for those that want to continue saying. But my dear soldiers, I want us all to remember that this is the moment we've been trained for. We're all sitting at home, and it's a little bit difficult to daven and learn. We have to remember all those Yidden, starting from our leaders, starting from the Rabbeim, the Rebbe, his father, Rebbe Levi Yitzchak, the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab. And not only the Rabbeim, he taught the Chassidim like Rabbi Gorelik, and all the other Chassidim in Russia. Boys and girls, this is the moment we've been training for. This is that moment that our schools are sort of shut, and we have to learn at home, and mitzvahs become harder. Boys and girls, don't give up. This is the time we should shine. Don't do less Torah mitzvahs. Don't do less missions. Now is the time to shine. With the Rebbe Shturim, hey! We stand up proud and we say, Corona, the rest of the world, we're not going to fall for your shtick. We were trained for this moment. We are the special top units. So keep doing, as mentioned, and a bunch of boys and girls signed up this week. Be'ez Hashem will be announcing that Be'ez Hashem, starting from next Sunday, we're going to have weekly Tzivos Hashem online meetings where you'll be able to do Niggin of the week, and we'll do videos of the Rebbe, small mini rallies. Once in a while we'll do big rallies, but Be'ez Hashem, we're starting to do Tzivos Hashem meetings, similar to this, but like I said, in a smaller scale, and you'll be able to do different missions, and the online store will be open. You'll be able to buy all those prizes, and we are going to make sure we do all those mitzvahs to be the last brick to build the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi. So please join me now in the first three letters of the Rebbe's Kapitel.
Atati visa fikudacha lishmar miyayid. Chalai kainu dirachai lishmar chukacha. Lo yeivais be'abiti akamit zaysecha oidecha b'yashileivov b'lamdi mishbetayiti kecha eschu kecha shmar al tazini ad b'yoy b'mei zakinar esarichoy lishmar kidvarecha b'chol libi dirashicha atashkeni mitzvaysecha b'libi safanti mrasecha leman loy echatalach baruch ata adinoi lamidini chukecha visvasai tziparti kol mishbitei ficha b'derech eidevaysecha sastika al kolai Yimol alavdecha echye Veshmira divorecha Gal einai viabita Deflois mitzarasecha Ger anai chivaretz Ataster mimeni mitzasecha Garissa nafshi l'sava Hamishvatecha bechol eis Aha, aha, aha Garta Zaydim arim Hashayim mitzasecha Aha, ay, 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 ay Gal me alai Cher babavos Ki einai secha natarti Gam yashuvu sarim binidvaru Avdecha yasiach bichlukecha Kamei deishecha shashuai Anche yatasi.
Okay, thank you very, very much for joining us today. Don't forget, there are still another 3 exciting raffles. The way to get into the raffle is by going to ChabadYouth.org/raffle. ChabadYouth.org/raffle. There is a form to fill out all the missions you've done this rally. And Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow, that same link, we will post the winners. Those that want could stay on to finish the rest of the kapitel. Otherwise, everyone have a happy day, a great week, a meaningful Chof. Remember what Rebbe Leivik and all the Bali Mesidas Nefesh, all our Nesiim have taught us, and let's keep fighting until the end. I hope to see all of you next week in our weekly Tzivos Hashem meetings. More information for that to come. Everyone have a great day.
Tabakale for nafshi Chayeni kidvarecha Drachai tziparti v'ta'aneini Lamedeni chukecha Derech bikudecha havineini Ve'asicha v'nifla'aisecha Talifa nafshi mituga Kayemeni kidvarecha Haser mimeni V'sari yasicha chaneini Aha, ay, 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 ay Derech emuna v'acharti Mishpatecha shivisi Tovakti b'yidim v'yisecha Adonai al tevisheini Derech mitzvaysecha rutz Ki yisachar libi Hayrini Adonai derech chukecha Ve'etzorena eikev Havineni ve'etzora sarasecha Ve'eshverena bechol leif Hadvicheini v'ntziv mitzvaysecha Ki vai chafatzi Hadlivi alei divaysecha Ve'alo botza Chof b'drachecha chayeni Aha, ay, 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 ay Haken li'avdecha irasecha Asher li'irasecha Havecha pasi asher yagarti Ki mishpatecha to'ivim Hinei tafti lefikudecha V'tzidkasecha chayeni Vivayuni chasadecha Adonai Tishuasecha ki imrasecha Ve'ene charfi davar Ki batachtik b'dvarecha Ve'al tatal mipi v'aran mesad miyad Ki lim mishpatecha yichalti Ve'shurasecha samid Ya'ilam ba'ed Salacha varchava Kifikudecha darashti Ay, 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 ay Vadar v'eidesecha Negen melachim V'lai v'ais Ve'eshtasha v'mitzvaysecha Asher ohavti Ve'sacha b'aya mitzvaysecha Asher ohavti Ve'asicha v'chukecha Zechar davar le'avdecha Al asher yachaltani Zois nechamasi ve'ani Ki imrasecha chiyasni Zayde valley to the admeid mi tarasacha laila tisi zachati bishvatecha mi ayla madinai va esnecham Zasni Merishoyim Ahizivei Tarasecha Zmirais Hayuli Chukecha Beveis Megurai Zacharti Valayla Shemcha Adinoi Vo Esmira Tarasecha Zai Sayasali Kifi Gudecha Natzarti Chalki Adinai Amarti Lishmar Divarecha Chili Sifonecha Bechalev Chaneini Kimesecha Chishaviti Drachai Vashiva Raglai Alidisecha Chashti Vilayis Mamati Lishmar Mitzvaysecha Chavle Rishayim Ividuni Ta'ir Sicha La Shechachti Chatzar Slalakum Leha Yido Yislach Al Mispiti Tzidkecha Chaver Ani Lechol Asher Yireyucha V'Lashayim Yirey Pikudecha Chazdecha Dainay Mala Aretz Chukecha Lamideini Toy vasisayim avdecha Adonai kidvarecha Tuftam v'da'as lamideini Kivim mitzvasecha hemanti Terem enani shoyigei Ve'ata imrasecha shamarti Toy v'ata umeitiv Lamideini chukecha Sheker Zaydim Ani v'chalei v'tzar pekudecha Tofas kachelev limam Ani tayasecha shiyashoti Toiv li chiyuneisi Leman amat chukecha Toiv li saras ficha Me'alfei zahav v'chosaf Yedecha asuni v'yechanini Havineini v'almeda mitzvasecha Yereyecha yiruni v'yismachu Ki lidvarecha yechalti Yedaiti Adonai ki tzedek mishpatecha Ve'emuna inisani Yehina chasdecha le'nachameini Kermesecha le'avdecha Shuzaydim ki sheker v'suni Ani asiyach b'fikudecha Yeshuvuli yereyecha V'yaideyei eidisecha Yehili b'samim b'chukecha Leman lo yivosh Oles ales Yeshua secha nafshi V'devarecha yichalti Kalu einai le'emrasecha Leimor masai t'nachameini Ki ayisi ki nait v'kitar Chukecha la shechachti Kama yimei avdecha Masai taseh b'red v'ay mishpat Karu li zaydim Shichais Asher lo yichisar yosecha Tzasecha emuna Sheker yedafuni Azireini Kemat kiluni varet Vani lo yazafti fikudecha Ki chazdecha chayeini Ve'eshmiro edus bicha Hayelam Adonai Devarecha Nitzav b'shamayim Ledar vadar Amunasecha Keinan da'arat v'tamayit Lemishpatecha midu hayom Ki hakol avadecha lulei sayasecha shashuoy oz avadeti ve'ani le'olam lo yashkach b'kudecha kivachisani v'chani hayshiyeni ki kudecha darashti v'kivu rishayim le'abedeni eidei secha ezvayinan l'chal tichla re'isi kids r'chava mitzvasecha me'ayid ma ahavti sayasecha kol hayom yisichasi me'ohi vaytecha kemeni mitzvasecha kili alam hili mikol melamida yisgaldi ki eidu vaysecha sichali mizekeinim ezvayinan ki fikudecha natzarti mikol ayirachra kalisi ragloi leman nishmar devarecha me mishratecha lo yisarti ki ata harisani manim letzulchi ki mesecha mi devash lefi mi pikudecha ezvayinan al kein sanitzi kol arach shaker ner le'ragli devarecha ve'or l'ntzivasi nishpati v'kayima lishma mishpitetzit kecha na'nesi ameoy Adonai chayeni chidvarecha niz v'spi ritzeina adinai o mishpatecha lamedeni nafshi b'chabi samid v'saya sechal ay sechachdi Natsunu rishayim pachli umi pikudecha ay saisi nechalti edu ay sechali aylam ki yisasay libi heima natisi libi lasaisukecha li aylam eikev Se'afim se'neisi v'sayir asachavati Sestri u'maganiyata ledvarecha yichalti Saru mimeni mirayim ve'etzira mitzvah zelayai Tzacheni chir masachaviyachiyah ve'apte v'sheni misiri Se'adeini ve'vashaya ve'yashia b'chukecha samin Salisa kol shagim b'chukecha ki shaker tarmisam Sigim mishpat achor shiyaret Lachein ahavti eidesecha Samar mipachtecha v'sari Omi mishpatecha yareisi Asisi mishpat v'tzedek Baltani chayni liyoy shekai Ayoy v'avdecha l'toy Ayaskuni zaydim Einai kalu l'shuasecha V'li'im yas titkecha Aseyim avdecha chechastecha V'chukecha lamideyni Avdechani havineyni Ve'eida eidesecha Ladinai hefeiru tayasecha akeina hafti mitzvasecha mizah umipas akein kol bikude chol yisharti kol ayach sheker se'aneisi pelois idivaisecha akein yitzayas hanafshi pesach devarecha yair meivim pesayim Chayavti penei elai v'chaneni לעשות בכוון בדייני בישק אדם וישמיר פיקודך פניך בעבדך ולמדיני יסוכך פלגי מים ירדו עיני עלי שמיר סייסך צדיק אתה אדוני בישר משפטך תפיסה צדק אידייסך ואמונה מאוד תמיססני כי נעשי כי שכחו דבריך צרי צרפי רצך מיד ועבדך איבה תאיר אנוכי ונבזה פיקודך עלי שכחתי תתגסך צדק לי עולם וסיירסך מס צער ומצק מצאוני מצווסך שעשועי צדקי דיוויסך לי עולם הבינני וחיה קרייסי בכל לב ענני אדיני חכך את צעירה קרייסיך הישייני ואשמרוי דסך קידמתי בנשף בשביה לדבריך יכלתי קדימו עיניי אשמורוי לשיח במרסך קולי שימה חסדך עדיין כמשפטך חייני Zima mitaya sakharaka karayvata adayinay bechametz v'sachames kadem yedai tid ve'idai sacha kili elam yisadetam rei ani v'chalateini kisaya sacha lai shachachti rivari v'uge alayini ve'emrasecha chayini Yachak me'rishayim Yeshua Ki chukecha l'darashu Rachamecha rabim Adonai Kemishvatecha chayeni Rabim rodefai v'tzoroi Mi'edi v'techa lainatisi Reisi v'gidim V'askaitata Asherim rasich alay shamaru Re'eki fikudecha ahavti Adonai ki chasdecha chayeni Yoish tivarecha mes Zoliyaylam kamishvat tzidkecha Sorim ridafoni chinam Umidvarecha pachad libi Sahasanaychi alim rasecha Kemaitei shalol rav Shaker sanesi vasa eva Tayra secha ahavti Shave vayim hilaticha Al mishvatei tzidkecha Shalom rav le'oya v'sayasecha Ve'ei lamay michshal Sivarti l'shua secha adinai Umitzvesecha asisi Shamer nafshi eidai secha Ve'oi avein me'oid Shamarti fikudecha ve'eidai secha Ki chodachai negdecha Ikari nasi lefanecha adinai Ki divarecha bineini Tavai techi nasi lefanecha Kemrasecha hatzileini Tebana sifasai tehila Ki salamideni chukecha Ta'al l'shayni imrasecha Ki chametz v'secha tzedek Tehi yadecha le'azreini Ki fikudecha b'charti Yashuai Techin nafshi Yusah